Before we begin, take a breath. Let the noise of the day fall away. On tonight's Soulful Tales, we bring you a quiet story, not of grand gestures, but of quiet rituals, of a man, a folding chair, and a love that never left. Some wait for people who are late, but he waited for someone who would never return. And still, he brought her chair. Every day, just in case. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who believes in love that doesn't end, even when everything else does. Now let's begin. It always began the same way. At exactly 5:47 p.m., just as the sun began its slow descent behind the row of willow trees, he would appear. From the south entrance of the park, an old man, tall but slightly hunched, wearing a beige cardigan over a faded blue shirt, trousers that brushed the tops of his worn leather shoes. In one hand, a folded wooden chair. In the other, a paper bag and a thermos. He walked slowly but deliberately, as though each step mattered. As though each evening was a ceremony. To most, he was just another elderly man taking his daily stroll. Someone seeking fresh air, or maybe just fighting the quiet hum of loneliness that follows some people into old age. But there was something different about him. He never sat on the public benches. He never chatted with others or fed the pigeons. He walked to the same small clearing just off the main path, near the old oak tree with the crooked trunk. And there, he would unfold two wooden chairs. Identical, well-worn, one beside the other, precisely angled. He would sit on the left. The right chair remained empty, every time. Then he would open his paper bag, take out a sandwich wrapped in wax paper, always the same kind from the looks of it, and a tin of cookies he rarely ate. He poured tea from the thermos into 2 cups, one for himself, one he left untouched on the grass beside the second chair. And then, he would simply sit, not reading, not scrolling on a phone, just sitting, watching the wind through the trees, listening to the birds settle down for the night, letting the light dim slowly as though time itself had softened its edges for him. People passed by, some looked, some whispered, some stared, but he never seemed to mind. He wasn't waiting for them. The first time I noticed him, I was coming back from work, dragging my tired feet past the edge of the park, debating whether to get takeout or finally cook something. The folding chairs caught my eye. 2 of them, only one occupied. I didn't think much of it at first, but the next day and the day after that, he was there again. Same time, same chairs, same stillness. Curiosity is a quiet seed. You don't notice it's taken root until it's already growing. And before I knew it, I found myself altering my routine, walking past that oak tree just to see if he was there. He always was. Eventually, I began bringing a coffee, sitting on a nearby bench far enough to not intrude, but close enough to observe. He was meticulous, precise. Every movement carried weight, from the way he smoothed the fabric of the seat to the way he poured the tea. Never rushed, always careful. One day, a teenager on a skateboard stopped nearby. He pointed to the empty chair and said, "Mind if I sit?" The old man smiled, a kind, gentle smile, and said, "This seat's taken." The teen blinked. "By who?" He didn't answer, just turned his gaze back toward the tree line, where the wind was moving through the branches like invisible music. The boy shrugged and rolled away. It struck me then how confidently he'd said it. Not like someone guarding a symbol, but like someone speaking a truth no one else could see. The chair wasn't empty to him. That realization sat with me for days. It took me weeks to work up the courage to speak to him. What do you say to someone who is so clearly somewhere else? Not physically, but emotionally. But one overcast afternoon, clouds hanging low like sleepy ghosts, I brought 2 cups of coffee and walked toward him. He looked up, surprised but not alarmed. "Mind if I sit?" I asked, gesturing to the grass nearby, not the chair. He nodded. "Of course." I handed him a coffee. He took it with a soft, "Thank you," then held it without drinking. Just let the warmth seep into his hands. We sat in silence for a long while. I didn't force conversation. I just wanted to be near the calm he radiated, like being close to a fireplace you didn't know you needed. Eventually I asked, "Is the second chair for someone?" He didn't speak at first, just stared at the cup he'd poured earlier, the untouched tea cooling beside the empty seat. Then he said, very softly, She hated the park benches, said they were too cold, too far apart, so I brought our own chairs. These. He ran his fingers over the armrest, slow and gentle. She passed away 7 years ago last Tuesday. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile people wear when holding back tears. I keep bringing her chair, just in case. In case? I whispered. In case I ever forget what it felt like to sit beside her. A pause. Or maybe so she doesn't forget me. The wind stirred then, and I could have sworn the second chair moved, just slightly, as if adjusting under invisible weight. I didn't say anything more that day. Some silences are too sacred to break. After that day, we fell into a quiet rhythm. I never asked too many questions, and he never offered more than I think he was ready to share. But I kept showing up, always bringing coffee, always sitting on the grass, always leaving the second chair untouched. He told me her name once. Margaret. Said it like a prayer, a sigh, a song too familiar to forget. They'd been married 43 years. No children, just each other. She used to sit with one foot tucked under her, he said one afternoon, smiling faintly. And she'd talk with her hands, always waving them around like she was painting the air with her thoughts. He pointed to the second chair. She used to lean in close when she was making a point, and I'd lean back just to watch her eyes light up when she was passionate. She never noticed. I asked once why he didn't just keep the chair at home, why he came all the way out here every evening. He looked at me with eyes that had seen so many sunsets they no longer chased them. She loved this spot, said the light hit the leaves just right before the sun went down, said it made the world look golden, like it was holding its breath. He paused. She deserves to keep seeing it, even if only through me. And that was when I realized the chair wasn't for her body. It was for her memory, her presence, her ghost, and maybe for his grief too. One evening, just as I arrived, I saw the old man already sitting, but something was different. A boy, maybe 9 or 10 years old, stood near him, holding a small sketch pad. His backpack was on the ground, half unzipped. The man was laughing, not loudly, but fully, the kind of laugh that surprised even him. I sat nearby, careful not to intrude. The boy was asking questions. Innocent, direct. Did she wear glasses? Yes. Did she like birds? Loved them, especially robins. Was her hair long? When we were young, then shorter. She used to tuck it behind her ear when she was nervous. The boy was drawing. I could see the charcoal moving across the page. He was sketching her, based only on memory told secondhand. After a while, the boy held up the sketch. It was rough, childlike but beautiful. A woman with kind eyes, a soft smile, a tilt of the head that hinted at curiosity. The man's hands trembled as he took it. I forgot, he said softly. I forgot how her chin tilted when she listened. You got it just right. The boy beamed. Then, without asking, the boy placed the sketch on the empty chair. It's for her, he said. The man didn't speak for a while. When he finally did, it was to whisper, "Thank you." The boy nodded, picked up his backpack, and left. That evening, the old man didn't drink his tea. He just sat, watching the sketch as though it breathed. It was a Thursday when I realized something was wrong. He wasn't there. The clearing was empty. No chairs, no thermos, just fallen leaves and the usual hush of dusk. Maybe he was running late, I thought, but he'd never been late before. The next day, nothing. And the day after that. A week passed, and then on a Sunday morning I saw him, not at the park, but outside a small clinic 2 blocks away. He looked smaller, thinner. He was sitting in a wheelchair, speaking with a nurse. I waited until she stepped away before approaching. His eyes lit up. "You found me," he said, as though we'd planned it all along. "I went to the park," I replied. "It wasn't the same without you." He smiled sadly. "I've been unwell. Margaret would have scolded me for catching something in this weather." We sat together, this time with no chairs to unfold. He told me his heart was giving out, that the doctor had said months, though he suspected it was weeks. "I don't mind," he said. "I've had more time than most, and I used it well. I loved, deeply." He reached into a bag beside him and pulled out the folded chair, the one that had always been for her. "Would you take this?" he asked. I blinked. "You sure?" He nodded. "I can't carry it anymore, but maybe you can. Maybe someday you'll sit with someone you love, and you'll understand." I took the chair with both hands, feeling its weight. Not just physical, but emotional. That was the last time I saw him. He passed away quietly 2 weeks later. No obituary, no funeral I could find. Just gone. The park felt different without him. The space by the oak tree, too empty, too still. But I kept the chair, and on clear evenings I brought it with me. I sat in the same spot. I poured tea. I brought a second cup and placed it beside me. People passed by just like before. Some looked, some whispered. One even asked, "Are you waiting for someone?" And I said, "No, I'm remembering someone who never stopped waiting." Sometimes the little boy with the sketch pad returned. We sat together and watched the leaves dance. He drew birds. I told stories. And in time, others came too. It became a quiet ritual, an invisible thread tying strangers together, all because of a man who brought a folding chair to a park every evening for years, simply to keep loving someone who no longer sat beside him. Love doesn't need to be loud to be real. Sometimes, it just needs a chair beside you that no one else is allowed to sit in. Thank you for listening. This was a story of stillness, of waiting, of loving long after goodbye. We hope the man with the folding chair reminded you that sometimes the simplest gestures carry the deepest meanings. If you've ever lost someone, if you've ever waited, if you've ever kept something small just to feel close to what's gone, you're not alone. Love doesn't end where life does. It stays, in chairs, in cups of tea, in memory. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Soulful Tales, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might need a quiet place to feel. Until next time, keep a seat open. You never know who might still be sitting beside you.